Hello and welcome to the Daily Lawyer podcast. My name is Jana Krishnan. I'm a lawyer and I am the founder of the Daily Lawyer. And today is yet another episode in our daily story series. And I have a wonderful guest. I'm speaking about Miss Swarupa Ananth-Sawkar. She is a percussionist. She's done a lot. I'm going to read her bio properly. But most importantly, she was a childhood friend and I'm just so delighted to connect back with her. Swarupa is an Indian percussionist and a producer. She was ranked Forbes 30 under 30 list. She's a prolific entertainer. She's learned tabla from the very venerated Ustad Allarakha and the very famous Ustad Zakir Hussain. Her debut album Raagatronic, released in 2014, reached number 1 on the iTunes India chart. Swarupa has collaborated with many national and international artists and shared the stage with some of India's biggest musical luminaries, including Singh and A&R Rahman. And recently, Swarupa has launched an online music school called Tablanaari School of Music that promotes Indian classical music with world-class artists, teaching rich traditional material in a holistic manner. So this is the bio that was there. Now you tell me, how have you taken your career to this level? I'm so proud of you.
Firstly, thank you, Jana, for having me on your show. I've done my fair share of interviews in the past, but this one feels so special, and rightfully so, because it's not just anyone interviewing me, a childhood friend, and we've been together, as kids, and then suddenly we grow up and, we meet each other as amazing professionals, top of your game in your field, and, it feels so nice, and proud was the absolute perfect word to use. Yes. So, I am so proud to be on this show and so excited to be here.
Thank you.
And thank you for that lovely introduction. It started off, I started off very young. I come from a musical background. My mother is a singer, my grandmother is a singer-composer. And in general, music's always been a part of the household growing up. And, like every South Indian household, you're sent to learn an art, right? Along with your studies. So at the age of 6, 7, whether it is singing, whether it's Bharatanatyam or, some art form is always a part of your journey and your curriculum. So, like all households, I was put to a singing class because you don't really put a girl to a tabla class. And I went there for a few years, but clearly my interest was not there. And, I'm glad people found that out pretty early on, that my interest was in rhythm and my interest was in tabla. And I then started learning tabla at the age of 7. At that time, it was, I was passionate about it, but obviously as a 7-year-old, you don't know, you're not thinking career path or anything like that. So I learned for a few years at a local institute. My mom came to know that there is Ustad Allarakha's Institute of Music, and who better than the best. Yeah. So she went there, inquired. I was extremely lucky to get a chance to get into the institute. And then, my formal training continued. But let me tell you, up until college, it was just an instrument that I played. I played these small programs here and there, or I would accompany my mom for a song or two. But college gave me that real exposure of, going and playing at these intercollegiate competitions, accompanying college singers to play at certain events. And that's when I kind of realized this whole world of live performances and live music. And for me, that was my moment of, okay, I think I want to take this up as a career path. And let me be honest, I still wasn't sure. So I finished college and I took up a corporate job. And, I've been in the corporate world for a good 6-7 years. I think even more. Maybe up until 2013, I held a corporate job. I used to work at the sports media company. I moved to a music label. I consulted another music label. And while doing music side by side and kind of building something substantial for myself, and then one day I said, okay, not worth it. Let's take the jump and let's, give it my time. And I think from there it was, as cliche as it may sound, no looking back for me. And, you just give in your everything to something you love, and the universe has to give back. So, for me, every day is a learning. Music is such a vast subject.
Yeah.
Every day there's a new kid doing something so cool, and, you're like, okay, time to learn again. So, it's a constant journey, and I'm so glad that, I've been able to do whatever it is that I've been able to do so far, and I hope things continue.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear all this. There's so much I can ask you about your career, and, because I'm really interested in music, although I don't think I'm musically inclined that way. But this podcast is mainly for, the legalities.
Right, of course.
And one of the things, because I do consult music startups and artists, and one of the things that people are really confused about is this, I create a song, but then how do I protect it?
Right.
And how do I ensure, and I put it up on, say, social media or YouTube, how do I ensure protections and so on? So from your experience, because you've had such a vast experience in producing music, creating music, and putting it out there, how do you see, or what have you understood when it comes to protection of music and your rights and copyrights?
So I think for me, there's been an evolution in terms of how things worked maybe 7-8 years back and how things are working today. Because I think 7-8 years back, or rather in 2014 when we released Raagatronic, our only approach was to safely take it to a music label and make sure our contracts are in place, read every single line that's on the contract, understand mechanical rights and digital rights. And that time there wasn't yet that digital boom. We were on the brink of it, but we were still selling CDs in the physical market. So understanding what are the percentages you get for the mechanical rights, the physical rights, who owns the content, what's the share that the music label gets, because at the end of the day they are going to be distributing it for you, and they actually had better strength back then to distribute things for you. And understand that then your music gets released out, whether it's a CD or whether it's in the digital format, and then you hold copyrights to the content that you created in whatever discussions you had with your music label, which is important. Now today things are different. Today I can log on to a DistroKid or a CD Baby or any of these digital aggregators, TuneCore. Simply it's a very small fee payment, and release it out to every single digital platform there is in this world. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in India we don't need to register a work before we actually release it. Releasing it considers it as copyrighted to you.
Copyright.
So I think that way things are far more streamlined today and far more easier. But if I made the mistake that a lot of artists have made over time, maybe me included, is being naive as to not trying to understand the law, or not, or saying कि इसमें मुझे क्या मिलने वाला है, or what's the percentage of money, or I'm anyway going to make peanuts. I'm not Taylor Swift or whatever is the name that you want to give. I'm not making millions out of it, so it's okay. I just want my album out. But I think sometimes it's not about making millions out of it. It's just about protecting and safeguarding what is yours for posterity. Because also you never know, right? The way Netflix and the way the OTT platforms have now suddenly come in, and the kind of money there is that people are making licensing out content to them. You don't want to be in a situation where 5 years ago you made a song and without reading things you gave it off to a label, and today you can't do anything with it, and they're the one sub-licensing it or sending it out, or whatever that doing a sync deal with a company where you're not getting anything out.
They're making money of your effort.
Exactly.
Only because
and
you didn't.
Because we thought, okay, I'm an artist, my only job is to lock myself in a room and make music.
That's so true. I want to actually take that thread a little longer, only because a lot of people, especially now that I've started the Daily Lawyer and I do consult with smaller businesses and creative entrepreneurs, especially the creative entrepreneurs, they feel that my job is to be creative.
Right.
It's somebody else's job to bother, or it'll not happen to me. It'll not happen to me. Right. So I'm really glad that you said that. Now, just taking that thought one step further, when it comes to, say, piracy, or people shamelessly copying music or your music without giving credit, it happens often on social media.
Absolutely.
Someday you'll find that somebody has totally stolen your entire Instagram grid. It looks the same except your name, and it just changes. So how have you, or in your experience, have you had any experience with this, and how have you dealt with it, or what is it that you see around you in terms of dealing with it?
Personally, I have not experienced this, also because this is one of the things that I have always been afraid of, which is why I refrain from putting out content that I think should not be freely available. Because to some extent I feel we have very little grasp over it, and we have very little control on what can actually be done once. A simple example, I'm sitting in my room, I've made a piece of music, I keep my phone on, I put up a nice recording, and then I put it up as a reel. People forget to put off remix, for example. right, or put off, whatever are those other check
Yeah.
boxes that you do when you put up a
Yeah.
reel. So what happens is anyone can go choose only your audio, choose to use that audio as a, behind a bathroom tile fitting advertisement, or sunglasses advertisement, or Indian ethnic wear advertisement, or anything.
Yeah.
And there's really not much you can do, and how much of it will you then be sitting clicking and checking, okay, let's see who all used it. So I think that has been one of my fears, which is why I've never put out anything that's unreleased on the internet as such, and on social media. My take has always been, let my music release through the right channels, let me make sure that it is copyrighted, and then I will share that music as part of it's coming through the Instagram channel or through the Facebook channel, and okay, I may get a buck or two lesser
Yeah.
because
True.
it's coming through that channel, but that's fine, at least I am protected.
You're safe. You're safe. But anyone else, I like what you said about being cautious, because that's something, of course, I advocate, because also part of my job. But I like how you are thinking through your protections first,
Right.
before you, like, it's not very common, honestly.
I think for me, I'm also a bit lucky in that sense, because the music I create is not largely, so I'm not into song and lyric, right? I'm not writing a lyric and then putting a tune to it and releasing it as song. I think the dangers are far more in that kind of a scenario. For me, it's instrumental music. For me, it is, kind of a chill house, world music, that kind of a, I mean, of course, it is still my work and it still needs to be produced. But many times it's also traditional music, right, which is copyright free. It could be a devotional song, again, which is copyright free. It could be a folk tune, which is copyright free. So I think I also choose that kind of music where I'm safe. If tomorrow I make a version of Kesariya Balam, it's fine. You know, that kind of a thing. So I am not in a soup for copywriting. I mean, taking something else and making something out of it, because I'm safe that way. I'm using copyright free content. And secondly, it's not something where I say, okay, I wrote lyrics for the song, I put a tune to the song, and now someone's taken it and made a version of or re-sung the song. That to me is the larger danger which is out there.
Yeah, it is. Now tell me, Swarupa, because when you were speaking, especially some time ago, you said the one of the things that people make, the mistakes they make, is not understanding what are mechanical rights and what are the sort of the other physical rights, etc. So what did you do to educate yourself? How did you educate yourself? Like, I mean, of course, it's clear that you have spent some time understanding what it is, because you were able to give all of these differences, which is not commonly known.
I think I have to credit the fact that I was working at a music label, and to me that was my biggest takeaway of why I got into this. Or I would have also probably been in that 80%, and I'm using a very large percentage here, but 80% of the artists who refrain from, or don't want to get into the legalities or all of those things. But to me, because I was working in the music label and I was on the other side of the fence, that's when I started, before I give out a contract to my artist whom I was signing, I had to read the contract to myself, understand, and then explain it to them. And many a times that's when I realized that artists are not paying attention to this, because many of the times the artists would say, it's fine, whatever is there, it, right, and we'll sign it. When will the album come out? When will I get a CD in my hand? I think the thrill for them was more about, when will I get a CD in my hand, or when will my song be on iTunes, or things like that, rather than, okay, what are my rights, let me see, or let me look at the fine print, what's the term, what's the territory, what will I do after 5 years, does it auto renew, is it for perpetuity? I think these were questions that were never asked. And that's where I realized, okay, this is a gap, and I should never make this mistake when I'm on that side, right? Which is when I started getting more deeper into understanding contracts in general, understanding the basic terms. I mean, I'm still not great at it, but at least
but it's fabulous that, because I've been dealing recently with a lot of music, like there's a music startup that I'm advising, and then of course musicians who are contracting with the startup, let's just say, to play some music, and nobody asks these questions, and nobody wants to know also. So it's like you're giving us a gyan and they're like not interested, so then you also don't know.
I think people don't want to know, because like I said, the emotion for the artist is more like, so this is my labor of love, right? I've put in, it can be anywhere close to 6 months to 6 years into creating this piece of music. I just want to see it out in this world, right? I want to know, when will the radio play it? I want to know, when will, okay, back then when will it come on MTV, or when will I get a CD in my hand, when will I find it at Rhythm House, and these were the kicks that the artist got, right? These were the brownie points for the artist saying, this is what I want, and as long as I'm getting this, I don't care about the rest. So you figure out your fine print, and I just want this, because वैसे भी where I am not A.R. Rahman, I'm not making millions, kind of a thing that is always in people's mind, but people don't realize that Shan even today gets a check for Tanha Dil.
Yeah.
Because of the right contracts in place.
Yeah.
And I know that because I've worked there and I've seen those checks go to him, and that's when I realized these things are important. 20 years back, he released an album and he gets a check even today. So, you don't belittle yourself on your art just because you don't want to take the effort of understanding something that's, beyond your jurisdiction.
That's fabulous. That's such a good example and such a relatable example that you gave. So what is your view on educating or just informing the music fraternity about their rights? What is copyright? How do they avoid piracy? Things like what you did. You were maybe fortunate enough to be on the other side. So,
right.
You saw it.
It is the need of the hour, to be honest. It is something that is needed, but it has to be at a very layman, dumbed down, zero level, because even today, if I Google, for example, copywriting music in India, it's beyond a normal man's understanding the articles that come up on the internet. It's complicated, it's long, people are not going to go beyond quarter of a page, right? They talk about organizations, they talk about PROs, by the time you read half of it, you're lost and you have no interest and you close it. I think the need of the hour to me would be like very simple, small videos. First of all, explaining terminology, right?
Yeah.
What is an IP? What you are creating something, is that an IP or is that not an IP? First of all, to identify that. Secondly, if it is an IP, how are you safeguarding it, right? So what are the checkpoints? Copywriting. Okay, if you're going to copywriting, then below that, what are the sub points? A, B, C, right? Then we're talking about physical market, digital market. Then we're talking about sync licensing, and these are all different buckets that people understand clearly to then make an informed decision. Now everyone knows of IPRS, for example, saying, okay, there is an
but IPRS also most people don't know that. Indian Performing Rights Society also are like, so the general public
knows of IPRS, they don't know anything further than that. The point, right? So there is an Indian Performing Rights Society, or you have heard of BMI, or you have heard of PRS, some seminar you attended and somebody spoke of it. What is your connection to it and what are you supposed to do about it is something that is not available.
Yeah.
Right? To me, it took a lot of research to understand how do I become a member of the IPRS.
Yeah.
What are the steps I need to do? How do I send? What is the letter I need to send? Okay, then IPRS is going to send me a contract. What is the proof of my recordings do I need? In fact, when I was filing for an IPRS membership, I realized that they came back to me saying Raagatronic doesn't have you on YouTube published as the owner or as a composer. So actually I had to go back to the music label saying, please make sure that, the YouTube of it has me or my name as composer or creator or author, whatever is the term that we need to use. Only then will IPRS approve that it is mine. Right? So I think these are the things that are
so maybe we need to
common man. I think it needs to be totally dumbed down to a zero level, starting with giving those buckets of this is this, this is this, this is this. And everyone wants to talk international, which is another problem, right? So people are going to listen to my music in UK or in Germany. So how do I protect that and how do I get the money from there? But we need to start grassroots. We need to start basic. We need to start protecting ourselves first in our region. Then understand that okay, IPRS has an affiliation with PROs across the world, and what are they affiliated with? Where are they collecting the money from? And I think there's a lot, but it needs to be
streamlined
down into smaller snippets of an audio snippet or a video snippet, and
hopefully we can get that done.
Please. Hopefully. That will be like the happiest thing for me.
Yeah. But just a little bit, going back and giving context to those who probably don't know. You spoke about IPRS and BMI and PRS and all of that. So they're all performing rights societies. Now, for those who don't know, what is a performing rights society and why would an artist or should an artist want to seek membership of that?
See, I think it is important to understand that when you create a piece of music, there are two aspects to it. One is a recording in itself, and one is using the recording in a live scenario, which is either you performing it or anybody else performing it, or it being played anywhere as a recording, whether it is in a okay, so you make a pop song, so whether it's played on the radio or on the television, or another singer
club
in
or,
his live store, or in a club, in a discotheque, anywhere, right? So collecting that, and every time your song is played somewhere, you have a right to collect money for it, which is again things that people do not understand, that that's your right. If you're gone to a club and you're dancing to someone's song, that person has a right to collect some bit of money for that song playing there, which is what the Performing Rights Society does for you, in short.
So it gives you an umbrella protection, so that you don't have to go and check where everything. It does all that work for you.
Correct. So you as an individual are not going to A place, B place, C. There's an IPRS license that all of these places have, giving them a license to play out these songs, because they pay a particular fee to IPRS, which is basically their job. And then in turn, you can claim your percentage from them.
What are some of the... Okay, before that, I'll ask you, you've collaborated a lot with other artists.
Right.
And then it's not just your song, it's like a little bit of you, a little bit of them. How do you manage the ownership? How do you manage discussions on percentages? How do you manage these collaborations in the real sense? Because ultimately it comes down to money and, your rights and things like that.
See, I think... there are two ways to do this, right? One is you feature in somebody's music just as an artist, and two is you have equal say in the music with another artist. So there's two angles of it. So say there's a producer who's making a song and he wants a tabla player. He calls me and I go play on his track. Usually in this scenario, I'll take a fee. I take my fee, and then I have nothing to do with the track. So then I don't worry or bother if it becomes a super hit, if it has 3 million views on YouTube. I have nothing to do with it, because I'm not claiming a share of it. I'm just
going as a professional, as a tabla player,
service giver, for example.
Service giver.
I've provided my service of playing the tabla. For my time, I get paid a certain fee, and then I come home and that's the end of the collaboration there. The second part is where you actually have a say in the music. So you and say 2 or 3 other people are together creating a track. There, I would say the first and most important thing is to understand the people with whom you're collaborating. If you are not in a good, healthy sync emotionally and mentally with these people, I think for me that's the first step, because any discussion can happen only if you have a great relationship with those people. If you already have a very soured or weird relationship, then things could turn in a bad way, because like you said, at the end of the day, there's a lot of money and kind of the touchy topics that are involved. So to me, my main goal is, okay, I know these people, they're we work well as a team, we understand each other and things like that. Then depends on the contribution that you're giving to the track. Is it an equal contribution? Are you and all the parties contributing equally? Then yes, the split has to be equal. But we have to be fair in the game. Okay, so it cannot be because I was a part of it, I need an equal share. There could be somebody else who's actually creating the entire music, and your inputs are say 20%, 30%. You have to understand that then splits move that way. So it could be 50, 30, 20, depending on the contribution of each person, and those things will end up being a discussion, which is why I say you need to have a great relationship with the people you're working with. So it can get tricky at times, but we have to be fair to everyone who's a part of a collaboration. If it's 2 people, it's mostly straightforward, because then it splits in the middle and people understand it. If it's 3 people and it's like a band, for example, and everyone's contributing equally, again, it's simple to just split it 33, right? But if it's a situation where I've done a collaboration, for example, with a producer from Morocco, he's a DJ producer from Morocco, and my part actually was a very small part in it. I've played tabla, I've done some vocal bits, I've contributed a bit here and there to create the entire track. but I cannot claim an equal share as what he's done, because he's put up the entire music. It's his idea to begin with. He's executed the whole thing, he's got it mixed and mastered, he's released it as his track featuring me. So right, even the terminologies differ.
Yeah.
So there I understand, okay, I can ask for say 10% or 20% of a share, if not a fee. So it depends on what you want to do. So there my share will be like say a 10% or a 20% of the entire share. So I think it can get tricky at times, but we have to understand that things have to be split, and they have to be split in a fair way.
And when you are doing the split and when you're deciding your splits, do you have any kind of documentation that you sign between the three of you, or
Yes.
3, 4, how many ever?
Yes, always. I mean, again, like I said, if it's now for example, I have a project called Filter Coffee. Filter Coffee is, it's my whole and soul, my baby, my everything. But it's not 100% me. It's me along with a flautist. We share everything down to the split. But for us, it's mutual agreement. We've been doing Filter Coffee for 15 years now together.
Wow.
And at no point in these 15 years was anything needed to be put down to a paper in terms of an MOU or an agreement saying this is yours, this is mine. Because it's that kind of understanding. It's almost like we've grown up together in our music, and wherever we are today is because of each other's influences and inspiration. But having said that, today if I go, just as a new track, I'm collaborating with somebody, first thing is paperwork. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be in lawyer language, right? It doesn't have to be in English that you can't understand, thereby, thereof, and things like that. Literally, it can be MOU, just stating this is to state that this is the track titled so and so, has contributors and their names, what is the split you all are agreeing on, right? All of that, a time, a place, and all the signatures. And literally sometimes even that is enough to start with. Then you go further and take it however you want legally, and whatever you want to bind it to a court of law, and that's all next step. But I think the beginning is to just make a simple Word document that entails all of it, has everyone to sign it, and you're good.
Yeah, I'm glad that at least I like the words that you're using, because it's like, wow, thank you, you're being my mouthpiece. But it doesn't have to be complicated.
That's where people stop, right? And they say, we don't know that language to start with. Language is very confusing. If you read a legal document, the language to start with is very confusing. If we are not from that field, I don't understand it. It's very difficult to understand. But you don't need that language if you're creating a simple, MOU or memorandum of understanding.
But I also am part of the group of people who believes that the reason why we write contracts is to confirm our understanding. And of course, there are certain protections that are built in, etc. Now, the entire document cannot be confusing. It defeats the purpose of the document. It has to be in a language that you and I can understand. So I don't also subscribe to the I've been educated in that pedantic way, but it was beaten out of me in my most recent role. But I see what you mean.
Out of experience, the more you read these documents, the easier it gets.
Yeah, of course.
Like now, if I read a contract, whether it's a live show contract or whether it's a recording contract, or a contract with a company who is representing me for something, it's very easy to understand, because the main things you're supposed to look for. You're supposed to look for your name, your address, the term, the people who are involved, the scope of the work that you're doing, understanding the rights, understanding the region, understanding the term, and those are the main points. And you read those, then there is a safeguard, so how do you exit, where's the exit clause of it, right? And things like that. And once you get those main things, you get a hang of it, and it becomes much more easier.
If you were advising a very young artist who you feel is that person comes to you and as a mentor, and you have to give him or her some advice as to how to take their career forward, and given the lens that we are discussing, what are some of the things that 2 to 5 things that you will be telling such a person from a protection angle, from a planning angle, all of that?
I mean, it stems from a lot of things, but I think the number one advice is be proud of what you do. Because the minute you feel proud of what you do, you will automatically want to protect it.
Yes.
to me, I think and that's a very personal feeling to me. As an artist, a lot of us tend to suffer from the imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough, and with social media it only worsens the situation.
Of
Right,
course.
everyone has a flashy new music video or a reel, and this many likes and 100,000 and 5 million and blue ticks, and it's a crazy world out there,
Yeah.
and it's a world that will increasingly make you feel small and worthless. So I think the number one thing is be very proud of what you're doing and what you've made. The minute you do that, you will start finding worth in it, right? Whether you are releasing it on social media or a small, through an aggregator on your own, or it's going to a Netflix film, either way. The minute you understand its worth, you will want to look at ways to protect it or maximize your future with that music, right? So second
Correct.
is law is not hard, right?
Yeah.
Take some time to read, take some time to understand, research it. You don't have to immediately go to a lawyer. You may not like me saying that, but you don't have to. Your first step may not be, okay, I need to find a lawyer and I need to get a massive 8-page contract in place. No, just go to the internet and read. Get an understanding for yourself of what it is that needs to be done. Right? Once you do that, then understand what is it that you want to do. Okay, do I want to release this music? Do I want to just collect all of my music and then release it out, sometime later? Do I want to sell my music? Because that's another point. One is releasing it with your copyright, one is selling it to somebody to release it and making money out of it, which is also fair game. Right? Do I want to sell it to somebody? Do I want to hold on to all my rights? Do I want to share rights with somebody? These are things you will be able to make an informed decision only after you understand all of the parameters. So spend time in understanding. If you can't find out things on the internet, there are people like you who are there to go to and get some guidance for it, and make an informed decision and stick by your decision. Sometimes it so happens that we make a decision for ourselves and then it may not always go well for us. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. In the larger scheme of things, it's just one thing in our 70, 80 years, whatever that lifespan is. It's okay. We can make another piece of music and we can do something else with it. It's fine. I think a large part of being an artist is we have very high emotions, whether it's happiness or whether it is sadness, right? If things don't very intense, if things don't go our way, we can it can go down very easily, and we could want to leave everything and say, I could have made millions on this, but because I was foolish, I did not make it. Right? I think it's okay. We need to chin up and say maybe another opportunity. So whatever is that informed decision you're making in terms of safeguarding your content or the way you want to release it or the people you want to release it with, it could or not go your way, and that's fine. At the end of the day, we are artists, and we just need to keep making more art and concentrating on that. So I think by and large these would be
I think this is good advice, not just for artists, of course, for anyone that we're starting out in any of their pursuits. It's good advice. And my final question to sort of close out this chapter is, what has been your biggest difficulty in getting legal help?
I think my biggest thing is lack of, how do I put it, accessibility. Like today, if I have to find a property lawyer, I think it's very easy. If I find a family law or a divorce lawyer, I think that's also very easy. But somehow if I have to find someone specialized in the arts and entertainment, I don't know why I find it very difficult. Simply because maybe it's not a...
It's a niche.
It's a niche. It's a very niche, very small fraction. It's a niche. And, I wouldn't find a hoarding or, outside a lawyer's office, I wouldn't find music or entertainment written on it. Just like how you would find, family or property or dispute or land. Access, even if you call up two people who are friends of yours and say, hey, do you have a contact of a lawyer? You'll get a contact of a lawyer. If I had to ask someone saying, do you have a contact of a lawyer who will help me with music and entertainment? I think automatically that shrinks.
The bucket shrinks.
And I don't think the reason is because there aren't enough. I think the reason is just because enough are not being marketed or spoken about. I don't know what the problem is, but
I mean, hopefully we will change that with this whole endeavor of the Daily Lawyer. But you're right, because in our country we're not allowed to advertise or solicit work like lawyers. So because of that, it's really difficult to get your voice out. That's number one. And secondly, you're right when you say that it is a niche, and there are very few people practicing in the niche. In fact,
Right.
the very need for a niche type of practice itself is something that people have woken up to in the recent past,
Yeah, true.
like maybe 5 to 10 years back. Otherwise, there was no niche that is entertainment or film or drama and theater. Like each of them are their own, their own
Right,
sort of
but I
parallel.
think it is so important. I mean,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
really that we are doing this recording today when the front page of the newspaper talks about the film copyright, the piracy copyright that's
Yeah.
going to be passed.
Yeah,
Right, so I think it is so important, and with
Yeah.
so much content being created
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
it's like lakhs of hours of content being created every day through all of these online digital
Yeah.
platforms. So very much the need of the hour.
Okay, we've sort of closed out the main part of the podcast, and then the last bit is what I do for myself. So
Right.
it's called 5 4 3 2 1. Ask you 5 of something, 4 of something, and I do that because I love listening to the answers that I get. So
Very
this is not any it's not lawyer related and all. It's just normal, to get to know
Got it.
whoever's on the other side. So, okay, 5 productivity tips or hacks or apps, whatever would you would want to share.
5 productivity tips. Let's see. Set small goals that you can achieve and feel good about it. The first goal cannot be I want to climb Mount Everest. It'll have to be I have to take a walk in my building every day. And which you can actually do, and then you feel good about it and you get a positive kick and say, okay, now let's go to the next one. Second would be write down your tasks for the day, or write down anything, because writing gives you clarity. When things are in your head, it's just this huge cloud, and things can get lost, a lot of thoughts, and then suddenly in the middle there are thoughts of I have to pick up my child from school, or I have to what's cooking for dinner, or oh no, there's no capsicum in the fridge, for example.
Of course.
If you are really doing something and you want to make sure you know what you have to do for the day, just write it down, put it on paper. You automatically get the clarity, and you're going to be able to be more productive, in my opinion. Let's see. Third, take a nap if you feel like it. It's absolutely not
Fabulous. I love this.
because no, I'm very serious, because I get when I tell people I take an afternoon nap almost every day, I get the looks
Yeah.
saying,
You're lazy.
are you crazy? Like, you could be spending that half an hour, 40 minutes or 1 hour working and being productive. I say no. To me, getting that sleep and that rest and that is my peace of mind, and then my productivity starts after that. So don't feel shy if you feel like taking a nap. Please take a nap in the afternoons. It's good. I would like to say wake up early. I'm still working on it. But I realize that waking up early is a great start, and there is a reason why sunsetting and sunrising and sunsetting is a thing, and why our body clocks work along with it. Unfortunately, the entertainment industry doesn't work as per the sun. But I would say waking up early, using that time to finish off a lot of your work, or at least getting clarity of what you want to do for the rest of the day, that will work. And less is more is my biggest mantra for everything. I think we tend to take on too much. We tend to think the more complicated it is, the better it is. Right? Simple examples of the more expensive something is, maybe it's better. Not necessarily. Many times less is more. Really understand that phrase, and a lot of things get very simple and complicated.
Wonderful. I loved your answers. Very unusual answers so far on the podcast, but I really liked it.
Thank you.
4 books that you'd recommend.
Books, 4 is not possible.
I know. It's hard, no?
Go behind.
Yeah. Too hard.
Let's
Be like, this is my first 4, but I have 40 more.
I have 4, and then you email me for the remaining 40. Let's see. The Alchemist. Paulo Coelho. I absolutely love that book, and I love all of his books. I think each book of his has a lesson in itself. The Bhagavad Gita. I have read it personally, and I think it's unbelievable that we live with that, and that's been in our country and with us for thousands of years, and we are not treasuring it enough. It's got every single life lesson you need to learn. We don't need to go to any self-help self-help book ever under the sun, if we've read that and understood it, give it a shot. The Bhagavad Gita. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Maya Angelou. Angelou. So I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings is all about the fighting spirit. It's all about talking about the never giving up attitude, about however hard it is that the circumstances you face, pretty much telling you that a bird is in a cage but yet it sings. How hard is it for him to live there without having the freedom to fly and do what he wants to do? It's a hardship, but yet he doesn't fail to sing every day. And find happiness in those hard situations. So I think that would be another book. And let's see, 1984, George Orwell.
Yeah,
I think that's a fabulous book. That is, there's no book written like that ever.
True.
Even today,
Very
after
true.
so many years, it works even for our society. Dystopian.
Of course. Maybe a lot more today. One would argue that.
So dystopian novel, dangers of totalitarianism, and beautiful book.
Yeah.
And
I love it. I love your recommendations. 3 tips that you have for young artists or graduates, youngsters basically, young graduates or young artists or entering the workforce, quote unquote.
Okay. Number 1 would be know where your interest lies or what you're good at. Okay. And pick a field based on one of these 2. Don't pick a field on what's the cool thing to do. Don't pick a field on all my friends are going there. Or don't pick a field on what's the current fad or trend, or it's cool to work in this company or that company. At the end of the day, you need to be in a space where you feel very passionate about it. So even if you're not good at it, it's fine. You have to be passionate about it, or you're really good at it. One of the 2. If neither of these are there, you're going to be one of those who wakes up in the morning and says, I have to go back to work, right? Yeah. And that's the worst situation to be in, because that's something we're doing for pretty much the rest of the 30 years of our life, at least 30 years of our life, right? So we have to understand that, okay, I'm really good at this, so maybe this is what I should be doing, or I'm very passionate about this, so maybe this is what I should be doing. Second thing would be learn on the job. There is nothing better than learning on the job. I think a lot of what I have learned has been on the job, whether music or whether otherwise. Keep bettering your skills on your job, right? There's so many new things that come. There's so many new trends. There are so many. I don't know, if you're a programmer, there are new languages, coding languages. If you're a journalist, there may be different forms of
communicating,
storytelling that is now, or news sharing. If you're a musician, there's technology entering music, or there's AI that's going to be a part of our world, very soon, or it's already a part of our world. So keep learning about these trends. Keep yourself up to date with whatever is happening. And I think the third one again is a little unusual, but it would be maybe a bit old school also. But I think your seniors are seniors for a reason. Learn to respect them.
Oh wow! You won't believe, Swarupa, every single person has said this. This one, like, respect the people who are with you and above you, and and if I were asked this question, I would say absolutely the same thing.
I think,
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Somehow I feel, no, please. Somehow I feel that I don't know if it's lacking or it's not lacking, but there is so much of a camaraderie that happens nowadays in workplaces, and the whole equal workspace or equal working, and there's no hierarchy and all of those things, which is fine, which is cool, which is amazing. But I think somewhere we have to understand that there's somebody senior to us, and why are they senior to us? Because they've proven the fact that they've done something to be at that level, and we have to respect that, utmost respect to what they have done. You may not like it, or you may feel jealous, or all of those things are your internal conflicts, but you have to respect people who are senior. Of course, respect people who are with you, who are below you also, but really show that respect to people who are above you and learn from them.
Yeah, true, very true. I would say absolutely the same thing. It boggles my mind how everyone has this answer in some shape or form for this question. Nice. So far, I think we've done 41 interviews, and everyone has had this in some. So I think the ones who are listening to us who are younger than us, and you would have, we are definitely more than 22 because we met each other after 22 years.
22 years ago.
Yes.
22 years ago when we were finishing
Yes.
school. So yeah.
When we were finishing school. If all of us are able to say this, so please take, pay heed to what we are saying. Yeah, pay attention. Okay,
real.
2 life lessons that you have learned in your life so far.
Oh, so many. 2 life lessons that I have learned. Let your work do your talking, not you. Put your head down, work as hard as you can, and let your work speak for you. There's no bigger credibility in your life than people recognizing you by the work you're doing, rather than you having to tell them the work that you do. So
Yeah,
for
it's
me,
beautiful.
that's number one. And never give up. I think very cliched, but whatever happens in this world, the sun rises every day. However big your problems, however big your losses, there's always a brighter tomorrow. In the larger scheme of life, we are here only for 70, 80, 90 years, and that's very small time to waste it on wasted on darkness, wasted fights, on quarrels, on bad memories, on grudges, on all of these things. I think whatever happens in your life, don't give up on life, don't give up on your passion, don't give up on your work, don't give up on your family, don't give up on relationships. There's always a way to smile and get up the next day.
Yeah, beautiful. Very much needed in today's times because people do give up very easily. Very easily. Yeah. And finally, what is the best piece of advice you've received?
Okay, so the best piece of advice I've ever received was from my son's pediatrician, surprisingly, after he was born. So he was literally just a day old, and I was having tons of problems trying to, like all new mothers, right? It's also baffling and it's also crazy, and probably just crying for no random reason. And she saw me like weeping there in the hospital bed for no random reason, and my husband trying to console me. And this piece of advice she came and gave me said, just remember that you too were before your son, and you too will be after your son, which means at some point in time he's going to go and look for his own family. Yeah, your children are going to go away, they're going to have their own family, which is going to be more important to them than you are. What is going to be left is the two of you. What was before he came was the two of you. Your son is a part of your life. Don't make him your life.
Wow.
And I think there was no better advice I've received till date than that. And especially, for a working mother, and you'd know it better than anyone, saying, society is, how do I put it? We are made to live in guilt for most of our life, right?
It perpetuates it. True.
Yeah, anything we do for ourselves, or as career oriented women, anything we do independently, stepping out has to be coming back with some amount of guilt at the back of your mind, saying, I left them at home, or I didn't do this, or something has to be there at the back of my mind. And I think that's wrong in a lot of ways. And I think your child has to understand that being his mother is one of your roles, and you've got a lot of roles. You're somebody's wife, you are somebody's daughter, you are somebody's daughter-in-law, you're somebody's friend, you are a professional by yourself. I'm a tabla player, you're a lawyer, and your child has to see all of that, and that's when he or she will realize the beauty of you. And I think for me that was the best piece of advice, saying your child is a part of your life, don't make it your whole life, and you and your husband, and if you think about it, it's true, right? Because you and your partner are before your child was born, and someday that child's going to go and find a partner and have his own kids, have his own family, and then you and your partner are going to be left to be with each other. So don't give up on that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's an advice that I'm sure it would take us and many other people like us some time, but I think once it comes to you, once it comes to you, then your
society has it's so many years of conditioning that it's hard to take it out of your system.
Very hard, so, especially when we live in a closed ecosystem. So it's other people are also conditioned, so they are just pushing their conditioning on you.
And I think
And
what hit me so hard was the fact that it came from my son's pediatrician. It was
yeah,
not
true.
from somebody else or from some, a friend or something like that.
Yeah,
It came from a professional, and I think that is what mattered to me so much. Saying, okay,
yeah.
yeah, this is something you have to take note of.
Yeah, it's wonderful advice. It's very good advice for us to, close the podcast. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Swarupa. It was so wonderful speaking to you. Is there anything you want to tell the audience about yourself that we have not covered? We'll leave all of your links and all below in the description. But anything
Well, I
about
think
you that you want to tell?
nothing really about me, Jenna. It's been such a pleasure being here and speaking about all of these things that I always love to speak about, but no one asks the questions.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that we were able to have this conversation. I hope that people won't shy away from law, from contracts, from fine prints. I understand as an artist that the process of creating art is very consuming in itself,
Yeah.
and once you're done with that, you don't want to deal with all of these things which feel even more
Yeah.
consuming. But it's not, and it's in our interest, and lawyers are in our interest, and if we understand these things, we're going to be happier for a longer time, once that piece of music or art is out in the world. So yeah, just do that, and keep smiling, keep working, keep following
Yeah.
passions and dreams, and yeah,
Yes.
that's about it.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you so much, Swarupa.
Nana, thank you for
course.
having me on the show. It is so lovely that you're
course.
doing something like this, and more
Thank you.
power to you. I hope this
Thank
becomes like the biggest thing the internet seen
Yes,
from
I
your on.
hope.
And absolutely, I'll pray hard for that. And
So
this
sweet.
should be
Thank you.
everyone's go-to when it comes to law.
Yeah.
So yes,
This is the dream, but hopefully. Chalo.
dreams come true.
Yes. Thank you,
Take
Swarupa.
care.
It was
Thank you so
wonderful.
much. Have a lovely evening. You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.